Hey there, Tony. All right, so the face on here really is tour quality. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this. Loads nicely, just the right amount of lateral movement. Hands up to the ball. Got a nice impact, very sustained. You go right into the left point here. That's great. Now, where I would be working would be from the down the line view. So I put Jason Duffner up here because he has the same type of right arm external rotation that you do. So he starts the club back. Now he'll start it back a little more toward his body than you do. But as you can see, if you look at his right forearm is going to be pointing almost back, just like yours. It's kind of a Fowler type thing. So when the right forearm is working this way, then you know there's a lot of pronation in that left forearm. And when the left forearm pronates a lot, the right is supinating, and the right shoulder with a lot of supination is going to stay externally rotated, which means the upper arm stays this way and the forearm folds over it, so we don't get a lot of bend right there in the right arm. So if you look at Duffner, he keeps the elbow down a little closer to him. So I'm not saying that you should do that, but when he starts down, you don't see the arm bend into itself. Now I think that's more difficult to work on than what I'm going to suggest otherwise, which would be all about the lower body. So what I see in your leg movement is that you start with your balance point sort of centered on your feet here, and then your trigger is always to flex. So you can see that both knees going the same amount toward the ball. And so what that's doing is increasing the angle of your upper legs. Now, I think what that does, especially with the rounded off backswing, is there's a lot of pressure forward in the knees as the club rolls. So with a fairly flat turn, if you watch your right leg, initially it will try to pull back a little bit, but as you get from P3 to 4, and this is something that I've been wrestling with myself because of my back, what you want to do from 3 to 4 is feel like you maintain or increase hip flexion in the right hip, which would mean that your knees at this point would not start moving to the right or toward the ball. So if we watch, so as you finish your backswing, what you see is you see the right butt cheek start to go forward away from the line. So you're losing depth as you get to the top. So the left side of the pelvis is now, since the motion's not continuing to go back into the right heel, the right leg begins to unweight and push forward toward the ball. So now just after P4 here, as on the way to P5, you can see that your knees have gotten themselves out from under you a little bit. So that's just going to jam things up a hair. So you can see in the downswing, once you get that sitting position in the trigger, in the downswing, it even gets more bent. And then if you watch these guys, and you can look at Tiger and Koepka, that right leg angle is not nearly as bent. So they're sitting a lot less. Gives them a little more space. So you're doing a nice job at the end of that to get the right leg not to continue to stay down and push out. But I think what I would do here at address is, from this address position, you could stay right where you are and simply take your feet from where they are here, right, and just back them up a little bit, so everything stays the same above the waist. But if you move your feet an inch or two back this way, that would shift your balance point slightly more to the balls of your feet. And if you could quiet that sitting trigger down, what I'm thinking is we don't want as much angle here. So we could keep pushing that right hip deeper as you got to the top. So I think that's one of the huge keys here. So if you watch the left hip from 3 to 4 and into transition, you can see it's constantly being pushed in this way because he's still deepening as he gets to the top. So I don't know if you can do that in this sitting position that you're in right here at P2, because it's almost too flexed in there already. So it comes out of that a little bit. The motion moves into the front of the left hip, and then the right pushes out to chase. So that's kind of what I see here. So you can see early in the backswing with Tiger, I don't think there's a lot of pressure shift back toward that heel. He's got it. He's fairly erect. Is much more up over it. So for you to get your posture to look more like Tiger's, you would simply back your feet up, back your knees up a little bit, and lean out over the ball a little bit more, And then I think you could feel that your pelvis would be able to work deeper as you get to the top. And then I think you could clear it better. I mean, you're clearing it fine, let's put it that way, but it does get underneath you a little bit and jams your arms up to hair. So you can really see that effort to stay up over it, keep the pelvis tilted, and keep moving back in transition.